Looks like it's live right now.
Is it live? Do we have anybody in the waiting room?
I have added everyone in that was in there.
Everyone's in, okay. On behalf of the City Council and the staff of Syracuse City, I'd like to welcome you to this evening's business meeting of the City Council. It is March 9th, 2021. It's 6 o'clock. We're convening this meeting electronically in accordance with the House Bill 5002 of the Open and Public Meetings Act amendments signed into law on June 25th of 2020. Pursuant to written determination by the chair finding that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present, and hopefully we're not going to have to do this too long. In commemoration of this evening, I might also state that the last formal meeting that we had in chambers was a year ago tonight. So this is an anniversary of sorts. We have met electronically now for a year. And in some ways, where's that year gone? And forever, in some other ways, it feels like it's been forever. So anyway, you can join this meeting on YouTube, or you can join the meeting from a link to the Zoom meeting that we're attending here. And we welcome you aboard. I would like to ask Dave, if he would, to offer an invocation on our meeting tonight. And then Corinne, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes, sir.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful this night to come together as a council to do the business of the city. We're grateful for the many blessings that we have here in the city of Syracuse. We're grateful for the land that we all enjoy, the beautiful sunsets that come over Antelope Island. We're grateful for the warm neighborly friends and family that we have here. We're grateful for the prosperity of our city and the blessings that many receive here. We pray at this time that we'll have thy spirit with us throughout this meeting. We pray for thy guidance, that whispering ear that would help us understand what we need to do to represent the people of the city in the way that they would have us represent them. We pray that we will have blessings of prosperity continue upon the city. We pray that we will have blessings of health for our citizens. We pray that we will have peace in these times, and we pray that we will get beyond this COVID and find a normal that we can all be back together again. We say these things humbly in the name of thy Son, Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Corinne. Corinne, would you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Would everyone please stand and render the appropriate salute? Please refer to Jordan's screen if you don't have a flag in your room, like me. Here we go. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Do you want to be thanked again?
Sure.
Okay.
You're good.
Thanks again. Those of you following along in the agenda, we're at item 2. This is a point in time in our meetings where we would like to hear from the public in public comment. Cassie informed me earlier tonight and the rest of the council that she had nothing in written form that had come to her. She would normally share those with the council before the meeting, and then those would be posted as part of the minutes of the meeting and become part of the record. I'd now open this up to those of you joining us by Zoom. If you would like to address the council on an issue, we'd welcome you to do that. If you'd state your name and place of residence, we'd allow you 3 minutes to address the council. Now, it's a little difficult to recognize you. If you want to turn on your camera and raise your hand, that will work. Or you can go to the reactions button down there in the very bottom or wherever it is on your computer and put your little hand up, and we'll try to find you. Cassie, will you help me?
Yeah, I know that we did have someone that was intending to make public comments, but I think it looked like she was maybe having a hard time connecting to the audio.
Alicia,
Oh,
is
there,
that you?
it's Alicia. Yep.
Hi,
Okay.
yes, that's
Alicia,
me.
Alicia, raise your hand again. There you go. Okay.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
All right, my name is Alicia Johnson, and I'm here to talk about a request that I sent into the city to consider selling a piece of unused land at Rock Creek Park. A lot of you may be familiar with, you might have got my request in your email, so I just wanted to talk to you about it briefly. If you saw in the email, I included a few pictures that show where the property is in the far east corner across the street from the park. And how my husband and I found this is we were driving around looking for lots to build on, and we just thought, of course, if you've seen it, beautiful area, beautiful location. And so we were thrilled, and we were thinking, oh, this is the perfect place. So we talked to a few people to kind of figure out, okay, who owns this and some information about it. And what we heard was that the city owned it, and it was purchased through a grant that they had thought. So I thought we'd do some just investigation a little bit to see if that was the case. And I was able to get a copy of the grant that was written for Rock Creek Park. And as I was studying it, I learned some surprising information. In the grant, it said that the land actually was given as a donation from the Rock Creek subdivision. So that was new information to me, that it was not purchased with the grant. It wasn't purchased at all. It was a donation from the subdivision. And the second piece of interesting information that I read was that the grant was written to help fund the first phase of Rock Creek Park, which is the west side of the park, the west half. And this lot that we're talking about is on the east half. So the grant, as far as I read, did not affect it, the development of it. That's what the grant was for, was to develop the park. And so that was exciting to us because we thought maybe this will make a change in the ability of the city to use this park or to sell it. And we thought maybe even they'll want to put this money back into the park to help that subdivision, which is where the area came from. And I had a couple images that I was gonna try to show you if I can do it, but were you able to receive the email from me? I don't know if any of you received the email with these pictures already.
Yeah, it did get forwarded to all of them yesterday.
Okay, great. Thank you, Cassie. You were very
Uh-huh.
helpful. So
You do have permission to share your screen though, if you're wanting to do that.
okay. Let me see. Okay, share my screen. Okay, it's just, all right, we'll just leave it at that. I just wondered, oh, here it is. Now it's sharing. Okay, it was kind of having a struggle for a second. Let's see. Just gonna make it so you can see it a little better. So right here on this page is where it says on point number 3, it says the project was acquired by donation. I can zoom in, I don't know how easy that is to see, from the Rock Creek subdivision. And then I'm gonna scroll to another page, which is of the grant, and it says in the highlighted red area that they are requesting funds for phase 1 of Rock Creek Park, which will be approximately 8 acres. And then in the pictures that I included, sorry, I'm scrolling to the picture, you can see phase 1 being on the west side, and then phase 2 being the east side. And here you can see the lot that is on the east side. So that is our message, and we're willing to help make phone calls if needed to get further information to verify or anything like that. But we were just kind of hoping to be able to help put this land to a great cause, we think. So that is our message for you. And if you had any questions, I did do some research and read in detail the grant. I'd be happy to field the questions or just have any comments from you guys.
Mayor, you're muted.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing.
Okay, sorry. Let me do this. There are a lot of opinions also that share your same opinion that would probably be a great use for that. But the solution to this problem is very convoluted. Paul, could you kind of weigh in here about all of the strings are going to have to be unraveled to get this back into the hands of somebody who could develop it for housing?
Yeah, and that's not to say that it can't be done. And I think if we want to have a more extended discussion, we probably want to put this on an agenda where we can notice it. But just briefly, if you look at the United States Code that addresses this, purchasing land isn't the only thing that can trigger the protections. It can also be improvement of property, and that can include area that is not just improved. So it's not just like where the swings and where the pavilions are, but it could be a larger parcel or larger property. So really the question is the 6F boundary map, which is kept by the state. And according to, I think it was Cresta has talked to them, they have a map that shows, and it does extend the full width of the park. And we actually did use grant funding for both the phase 1 and phase 2 of the park. So it's more than just phase 1. So it looks like at least the state's position is that the entire area that was dedicated to the city is subject to this 6F designation. That's not to say we can't do anything with it. We would just need to go through the conversion process. And there are some expenses with that, but if you felt like it was just, sitting there wasting space and we have no plans for it, it might be worth it to expend that. So that'd be a question for you as the council to decide whether you want to go through that process. The conversion also entails, finding some property elsewhere in the city that we want to now transfer that 6F designation to. So that's kind of, we have looked into it. And this isn't the first time this has come up actually. And that's what has been reported to me. So it's possible to sell it, but we would have to go through the conversion process, or we'd have to fight with the state over whether it's actually included or not. I guess those would be the two options there.
Okay, and I'm going to follow Paul's counsel. Since this was not an agendized item, council, would you like to see this on an agenda where we could research it and actually discuss it in greater detail?
I would.
Okay, Lisa,
As would I.
Seth.
Well, I would just note that when we do have that discussion, there was the discussion of this a few years back where a plan for this land to be included as part of this park was discussed. We just didn't move forward at that time because we had other priorities.
Right, the finances were limited so that we couldn't finish the parking lot that's planned on that end.
Right. We had planned to build a parking lot there that was separate from the other parking lot so that there would be more parking that's needed.
And it just pretty much would service the other end of the park was the idea.
Right. So
Okay.
there's been a plan for that. It just needs to be included in the discussion.
Is there anybody opposed to putting this on an agenda?
No.
Okay. Cassie, can we put that on a future agenda? And would you make sure the Johnsons are aware of that?
Yep, I'll stay in touch with them.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from those joining us through Zoom? Hearing
Mayor, I've
and,
seen you raised hands.
okay, hearing and seeing none, I'm going to close that. There'll be an opportunity later to open that again. Council, we're at item 3, which is the approval of the minutes of February 23rd of 2021. February 20th of the City Council work session meeting, February 23rd, 2021, the special council business meeting, and February 23, 2021, the special MBA meeting. Any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the said minutes.
Okay, thank you, Corinne. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? We're at our consent agenda. Let me read through those. And then if any item would like to be brought forward by any member of the council, we'll pull it out and discuss it. Item A is the final plat of Stillwater Phase 10 located at approximately 2000 West on Parkview Drive. Phase 11 is at that same location. Item C, proposed ordinance of a potential text amendment relating to the preliminary and final plat approval process. Item D, authorize administration to execute contract for election services with Davis County Clerk's Office. And item E, authorize administration to execute amendment to the agreement with the Clearfield City regarding grant matching funds for 500 West project. We've discussed these in work meetings and have decided to put them on the consent agenda. Is there any one of those that you'd like to pull out? Hearing and seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Seth. Have a second? Corinne, will you second that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, that the consent calendar passed but unanimously. Let's go to item number 5. I'm going to start this one, and then I'm going to defer to Paul just a minute on the wording of the proclamation. I was approached by Syracuse High School some time ago, and I was not aware of this. Paul brought this to my knowledge, but there is such a thing as an international social and emotional learning month, and it is international. I didn't know that. When I first heard about it was from Syracuse High School. They wanted to declare Friday, March 26th as Emotional and Social Learning Day in Syracuse. I've since learned that that is an international day. So this is more than just this high school. It's more than just the state. It's more than just the country. There are other countries that are involved in this. So we I petitioned the council to see if they'd be willing to take this on as by resolution rather than just a proclamation of the mayor, and by consensus, it seemed that most of you also wanted to endorse this. So we also had a request from CTC through Jess Bigler that we tie to this Everyday Strong. Everyday Strong follows Maslow's theory of basic needs. Those basic needs are, you need to feed a child, keep a child safe. Physical well-being of a child is important before he can begin to function in the higher things in life. And so Jess asked us if we would also tie this to Everyday Strong, which the city has a grant coming to it from Utah County's United Way to promote this day and future activities in the city promoting Everyday Strong ideals. So one of the things that I asked Lisa to do and Corinne to do was to contact the CTC folks within both of those schools. And one of the concerns that several of you had was that you didn't want to see this day emphasize you're a victim, or you've been victimized, or you're a bully, or you're an aggressor. Those things you thought ought to be approached in a little different way. I know that Syracuse High was approached, and they're not going to head in that direction. I conferred with Lisa this morning in talking with Chris Kime, the principal at Clearfield High, and he assured me too that that is not the approach the county is taking. So Paul, do you have anything that you want to mention in the written language itself?
I don't know if there's a need to. I mean, the designation in that proclamation says we're just designating this as SEL Day in Syracuse City. It doesn't need to be designated as international or not. I mean, this is a proclamation resolution, so it's not really binding aside from just, designating a day and trying to bring awareness to the issue.
Okay, Council, I would like, if you have any further discussion on this, I'd like to hear it. If not, I'd entertain a motion to make that proclamation valid by resolution.
So I heard back, Mayor, from Tanya Smith, who teaches this at Clearfield High. And she said that, let me just kind of give you a breakdown of what they are teaching. She said, we have assigned students a mentoring class where they may connect to another adult in our school that guides them through goal setting and achievement. They may work in collaboration with school counselors to connect students to resources. They also will periodically deliver social emotional tips to each of the classes. The mentors will. They might have in-person lessons, videos, message content sent out through Canvas. They might be learning organization, time management, stress management, test-taking strategies, things like that. And they also have just opened up a teen center and mindfulness center. And one of the things they can do is do their laundry or shower or just take a few minutes to kind of regroup. So as I've looked through what her explanation is, she said, we don't have a set curriculum. We're just dealing with the needs of our students. So that made me feel like I'm not concerned that there is a gender or race-centric teaching curriculum going on, or an oppressed or oppressor situation. This just sounds like it's just what we would hope for, that they're teaching them skills for social and emotional wellness. So I don't have a problem supporting this resolution with this teaching.
Okay, any other concerns?
Well, my understanding, and just correct me if I'm wrong, is this is a resolution of our support for certain behavior, not necessarily our endorsement of somebody else. I mean, yes, somebody else has organized this, but we're not like saying, okay, your program is the right program. We're just saying that we endorse the concept. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I support that.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Seth?
Yeah, no, I mean, as my wife is an educator in Davis County, obviously it's on the elementary level, but I've spoken with other educators, and like Lisa was saying, the big major focus is mindfulness, which, fully I support. And I think, like Dave was just mentioning, this is more broad anyway. Just philosophically, do we support social and emotional learning? And I would agree with that.
Okay. Corinne, do you have anything you want to add?
No, you have all said everything. I'll support this, no problem.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we issue joint proclamation 21-01 of Mayor Gailey and the City Council designated the last Friday in March as International Social and Emotional Learning Day, and express support for the Everyday Strong program.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, would you record that? Robert, we're at item 6. Can you lead us into this one?
Absolutely. In compliance with Utah law, requires all wastewater collection systems to submit an annual report to the state Division the Division of Water Quality. And we have put together our annual report for 2020. This just describes the health of our wastewater system. So I've put it together in the packet for you. It's basically just a template answering questions that they have put together. They just require that it get submitted to council for review and resolution, just so that you can acknowledge that you've received it and reviewed it before I submit it. It's due April 15th to the state. So this is typical every March I bring to you to look at.
Okay. Corinne, do you want to begin us here?
Sure. It looks pretty much like every year where you just like get all the questions right on these. I don't have much to add. I mean, this is a pretty great report and you're doing good. I don't have anything really to go for.
So I didn't know that we had absolutely zero backups last year in the city. So kudos to you, because I know we had a near miss with the COVID paper towel, disposable wipes, no toilet paper epidemic. So
Huge.
nice work.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great
I won't
job.
take full credit for that. That's our crew out doing the work. They're doing a great job. So you can have full confidence. They know what they're doing and they're doing a great job. So
Great.
Great.
Can we send this on, council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a motion?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I propose that we accept resolution 21 R2107 affirming the Syracuse City Council's review of the Municipal Wastewater Planning Program, MWPP, annual self-assessment.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Corinne. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, would you record that one as unanimous too?
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to begin 7 again, but then I'm going to defer to Noah and Paul. Council, I need to report to you that during the last 90 days, I have solicited volunteers to serve on the Planning Commission, on the Board of Adjustments, on the Park Advisory Committee, on the Architectural Review Committee. And I've had just 2 applicants for all of those. It's getting harder and harder and harder to get people to volunteer to serve in those public committees. I also know that our level of service to the Board of Adjustments, when people put an application in to be heard by the Board of Adjustments, it's been very difficult for us to get together. We're down now to where we only have 3 members of that we only have a quorum. That's all we've got. So Noah and Paul and Brody and I have been talking about a hearing officer. And Noah and Paul, can you lead us into that and what you share with us what your position would be, or what advantage we might get from going to a hearing officer?
And
I know we've discussed this again, but it's getting critical. Our level of service is not what it ought to be. People are having to wait to get on board.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to necessarily go into detail about the hearing officer. I think we just talked about this in July. So everyone on this council has heard this. We talked about it, and if I remember, the feeling from the council was basically, let's keep it in place and let's fill it. The question is, does our difficulty filling these boards change your mind at all? Like the mayor said, we only have a quorum of the Board of Adjustment. There's one person who I believe their term is up this July. I don't know if they're going to be, if they want to be reappointed or not. But if we were to lose even a quorum, if a person asks for a variance, we have to give them due process. It's in state code. So we need a Board of Adjustment. They did meet just last night actually to hear one variance. So we were able to get the 3 of them together. So that's good news. For those we had two applications, but hopefully you know my position. I think that hearing officers can be they've got a lot of benefits. Obviously, one of the cons is they can sometimes be a little more expensive because you're paying a person a set fee for their time, as opposed to Board of Adjustment, which is generally free and doesn't have the same costs. You can require that the fees charged to people cover the costs of the officers and things. So those could be recouped. But unless you want to go through more detail, I did attach in the staff report the memo from July, just to refresh your memory on the pros and cons that we discussed. And anyway, yeah, just the big question is, do you feel like things have changed enough that you want us to start going down the process where we at least do the RFQ, find out what it would cost us and who's interested? Or do you want to maybe we've advertised in the magazine, I think on the website, or maybe Facebook, I don't know specifically, but I know there has been advertising and just no one's responding, and the mayor's struggling. That's it for me.
Okay, I'm just going to listen to you now, and then we'll do with we'll do what you want. It just is a struggling time for me.
Mayor, could I say something too about that?
Yes, go ahead.
I think you guys covered it well. I just wanted to add that we really don't see a lot of variances. So I don't know exactly what the budget ramifications are. But they meet as needed only. In this last year, I think we only had 1 or 2 or 3. You know, it's not like this person's going to be on the clock all the time. That's all.
So in regards to the individual whose time is up here shortly, is it a position that can be reissued so that they can continue on the Board of Adjustments, or is it their term is up and we need to find an additional individual?
Yeah, you can reappoint if they're willing to keep serving.
If they're willing.
If
And
we,
do we,
I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead, Corinne.
No, I just was gonna ask, if we do contract with somebody, would that be an annual contract? And is there any way to see if there's future interest by residents, you know, or is this perpetually going to be a contract? Just a thought.
I would think I mean, you can always go back to a Board of Adjustment if you wanted to. It's pretty much what we would do if we decided to go this route. We would do the RFQ. You'd see if it's something that you want to do, and then we can amend the code to designate the administrative hearing officer to hear those matters and remove the Board of Adjustment references. But you can always change it back.
Okay.
It's not like you lose it.
The real question for me, sorry, Paul, I thought you were finished,
No, you're fine.
is if we find that this is going to be an expense that isn't covered in our fees, are we able to adjust the fees to cover our costs? And it sounds like you said yes. So my recommendation to the council is, if for any reason we go down this path, I would say that the only thing that makes sense is for us to make sure that the fees for applying for a variance absolutely cost or cover the cost of whatever we have to pay out for a said service, because we've been counseled many times that these are very academic and that it's very difficult to, within the 5 conditions that have to be met for a variance, to actually get a variance. I don't want people just wasting city money by throwing out the idea that, hey, let's get people to review this because I have this wild idea that I'm going to get a variance. I know that people in the past have been very clear with applicants that all 5 of these conditions have to be met, and that there's no real wiggle room here. But I still think that frivolously we get applications that they know don't apply, that they know have a real hole in one of these conditions that they think is going to get waived. And so my concerns is just, I don't want to incur any additional expenses. I don't want the city to have to pay for people who just want to do something that doesn't meet the code.
So my opinion on this is that I'd actually like the city council to put a plea out on Facebook, at least those of you that are comfortable doing so, requesting, and we get a few more voices out there and say, look, if you've ever wanted to have a voice in the city, this is your opportunity. We have several openings on several of our various committees, and we would like to have you reach out, and here are the openings. And I guess I would like to give us 1 more month. I would actually prefer to table this for a month. Let us go to the people as well and see if we can't get a few more. I think if we had a good solid plea from a few of us here on Facebook, I think you'd get several applicants.
Is the RFQ binding at all? I mean, is it like once we go down that path, or is it more like an RFI?
It's not binding until you actually sign the agreement, and that the process would be that you would select the hearing officer. So yeah, it wouldn't be binding, but I also, if you're thinking of not going down this way, I wouldn't waste people's time.
Yeah, we've talked about that in the past, that unless we intend to go forward, it's kind of looked upon as bad form to put out an RFQ and then not follow through.
No, And I can agree with that. I just think that I agree wholeheartedly with Jordan's approach. And I think that there are many different positions out there that the mayor's discussed as appropriate for community-based roles. But as you know, as I read the packet and read through the July memo, for me, I think the pros outweigh the cons to go with the more professional route. Just my own personal opinion. So that's where I would, tend to lean the other way, but still putting out a plea to the community to get involved on planning commission, architectural review, the Parks Advisory Committee, any of these other councils. My one question, and I know we asked this in July, but I just wanted to remind us, was this position then, if we did go down this road, completely fee for service, or is there like a retainer based cost?
We'd work all that out in contracting, but I would expect it would just be a fee for cost. We wouldn't pay a retainer.
So they would be okay only making like 3 calls a year, and it's they might make $300 and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, it is good to put in your resume. If these are people who apply will probably be, you might have other city attorneys might be interested, or you've got someone that deals with land use issues and they, they're interested in it, and it's good to put on your resume that you were, an administrative hearing officer for a city.
Brody, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I want to make sure the council is aware that the Board of Adjustment specifically is a quasi judicial board. It's not really a board where, a community member comes in and kind of voices their point of view and their opinion and that sort of thing. It's basically kind of like a court. You review if they meet the ordinance, you review if they qualify for a variance, and then you make a judgment. So it's very legalistic, as opposed to Planning Commission, Park Advisory Committee, Museum Board. All of those are more of sort of a community, I don't want to say advocacy, but someone can kind of bring their own voice to the table and participate in government.
So is there an expectation that whoever joins this Board of Adjustments has a law degree?
No,
they just need to be trained, because if they can say, yeah, I think, this guy, he's a good guy and he should be able to put his shed where he wants to, that's going to get us in a lawsuit. And so, they have to be trained and really know what they're doing as far as whether to grant a variance or not.
Well, so let me ask this question then, because I'm always of the opinion that more voices are better than a single voice in something like this. A jury's better than just a court ruling. But that said, what is the cost of training these people? Because maybe we're putting more money into training people than we would to the cost of just getting somebody who's trained. And this is just an open-ended question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, we did the training in-house. So, no additional expenses. Noah and Royce and I kind of provide the basic trainings of here's the laws, here's how you're supposed to apply it. And if I remember correctly, I think the board has heard 4, maybe 5 cases. And it seems like they've granted 2 variances and they've denied other ones. So they're not just, rubber stamping and saying, yeah, you guys can do what you want. It is a thought out process. They're
catching on to it. And I want to make sure that, we've been able to do it without additional costs. And I think that's great. It is time and it's staffing resource time, but we haven't had to incur additional financial cost.
And I want to be respectful and say that there is a cost to time. I mean, that's always that's time that could be applied to something else.
Yeah, there's the training time in the meetings, but there's also the time involved with scheduling meetings and rounding up people. And this last time it was really difficult to get people available because the chair had resigned, and and I don't know if we're in a pandemic, if people are busy, they don't return phone calls, they didn't see the email, so there's like 2 or 3 rounds of reviews and just tracking these people down to get them. So it would be a lot more easy on staff time to be able to call up the hearing officer. who's already trained, already available. So I think it would increase our level of service and save staff a lot of time. But I think the Board of Adjustment now is doing a good job, and it does provide an opportunity for service. So it's up to you, but I mean, you can probably see where I'm leaning just because of the staff time. But
I tend to agree with Seth's opinion in that I think that we're having a hard time getting anybody for any of these positions, and this is one that is logically one we could outsource for a little bit, and who knows, maybe interest will, we could have it re-advertised every year, and then if not, then we do the RFP again, or RFQ again. And
One thing,
Having seen all the legislation that was going on this year in this state, a lot of things were kind of knee jerk to what's going on with development issues in cities. There were a lot of bills that they tried to put in place that would basically force the city's hands because there are delays when it comes to approvals and all kinds of things with development and building and construction. So this makes sense that we would want to be not have this need to be addressed on a higher level, but address it ourselves. And if we're struggling with trying to fill positions, I think that it's wise for us at least to get this one that we can call them immediately whenever there's an issue. The other ones, I think that Jordan's right, that we can put out a request for some of these other positions online and see who's interested in kind of putting their money where their mouth is about wanting to be involved in the city and make some decisions. But in the case of somebody kind of a judiciary position and needing all the training, I think that it would be wise for us to have an appointment that's not a volunteer.
My argument to all of that is anytime you can educate citizens in this, so if you have people flowing through this board, it educates more people out there that can make better decisions even when they're off this board. And I think they get a kind of a better understanding of what city government looks like and the different issues that are out there. So I think this actually benefits the citizens that would volunteer for this. So I'm still leaning towards really looking to try and put out a request for this, not because I think we'll save a ton of money because we won't be paying a fee, but just because of the educational value it presents to the citizens that serve on this committee.
I'm going to agree with Jordan that if we put this out, I believe we'll have applicants if we put it out amongst ourselves.
What if we table this for a month, give it a go, and then
Put it on social media and see if you guys have people interested?
is that okay? That was your original proposal, Jordan. How do you think?
I'm still in favor of it.
Table for a month?
Let's see what response we can get in a month. I think it's worth a shot.
Can you make that by way of motion?
Seth, sorry.
Go ahead, Seth.
So my only other comment was then could we get some sort of general language to put out there as far as a description of what the Board of Adjustments would entail, or should we take it right out of, just so that they're getting the full picture of what this entails. They're not thinking it's a legislative idea, like it kind of describes in the packet that it's an administrative task.
Good idea.
Yeah, I think we can get you some like an info.
Job description.
Yeah, an info sheet on it.
I would also like a list of any other appointments that you're trying to make, Mayor, so that we can kind of do one request, say, hey, look, we have a lot of things out there to help you get involved. And let's say maybe you do want to run for city council. This is kind of a good training program. Go through some of these boards to kind of get a taste for what's out there.
I don't know about the Arts Council, but every other thing I appoint needs help.
Yeah, like I say, okay, if you can give me a list, I will put out a request on Facebook.
Does one of you want to take the lead in this and organize the council and distributing this stuff, or do you want to just do it independent?
I want to go willy-nilly.
I think it should be independent.
I mean, independent, willy-nilly independent.
I'll make sure we get information out to the council. We'll just send it out to everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you can go willy-nilly.
Okay, motion to table.
Thanks.
Yeah, motion to table.
Okay, I have that from Seth. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Cassie, would you put this on the business meeting in April?
And Mayor, if I may,
Yep.
Yes.
maybe we'll get it filled and it'll all be great. But if by chance we're still struggling in a month, if you could go to that second to last page of your packet over the next month and just look at whether you only want to have them consider variances or whether you want to have the hearing officer address additional items. There are some things in our code that actually say they'll go to administrative hearing officer, and we don't have one. And there are also many things. So there was that table. You just look at that, and then that'll help me with crafting the RFP if we go that direction. So just in the next month, just have it on a slow boil in the back of the stove. Thanks.
So actually, can I ask a couple of questions about that, even though we
Sure.
already motioned and seconded? On these, so we have like code enforcement citations, abatements, animal control. So this person would actually listen to what they want. If they have a code enforcement violation, they would make a hearing on that or a ruling on that as well.
Yeah. Administrative hearing officers can pretty much hear any factual, circumstances and apply the law to it. So in those cases, it would be people who have appealed their ticket or their abatement. But with most of the abatements, I prefer to actually just summon them to the administrative hearing officer, just so that there's always a guarantee that they've gotten due process. It'd be an appeal. And then if they disagree that the code applies to their conditions on their property, then the hearing officer would hear it and would either, uphold the violation or overturn it.
Okay.
So Paul, could you, that raised a question for me as well on the ADA accommodation request. So if that were to come up, is that something that we would, leverage a fee to somebody who was trying to figure out if we were accommodating to a federal, or how, I guess, help me understand how we would fund that through an appeal cost?
That would not be, you're not allowed to charge a cost for ADA issues. And I should have put on their administrative function, ADA accommodation appeals, because actually the ADA accommodations under Title 10 go through through NOAA as CED director. And the administrative hearing officer is designated as the appeal authority. And we've dealt with probably 3 or 4 of those since that code was passed a few years back, but none of them have appealed because we've accommodated pretty much all the ones we've gotten.
So our ordinance currently has no one to appeal to because we don't have a AHO.
That is correct. Yeah, we would need to.
That sounds a
find one
problem,
and appoint
like a
one.
problem regardless.
Yeah.
That's where you were saying, Paul, that, if we did it would be a pretty emergent situation if we'd be in that position to find them last minute.
Yeah.
It looks like public work inspections and ADA accommodation. I can't remember, you said it's not request, but it sounds like we have a little bit of code work to do regardless on this table that we ought to look at.
Yeah. If we don't want to have the administrative hearing officer at all, then you need to pick an appeal authority that we have currently constituted and then apply it there. So and that could be something we discuss next month as well.
All right, thank you.
The governing purpose of these things is actually to provide an opportunity for somebody to appeal the city's decision without taking us to court. And it's a good way for the applicant because they don't have to spend money on a court case. And it's a good thing for the city because we don't have to spend money on a court case. So that's the governing purpose of these types of things, really. So
Yeah, a good hearing officer can keep you out of trouble because it's all handled internally. So someone can't sue the city and say, hey, you ticketed me. But if we have an internal administrative officer that says no good, then they don't have a cause of action.
yeah, or a board, whichever way you designate.
Okay.
Are we good? We good to go?
I think we have to vote.
Pardon?
Oh, didn't we vote?
We did vote.
We did vote?
We did vote. We vote to table.
Dable.
I didn't know if we had to actually say aye, though.
We did.
I missed it.
Yeah, you did vote.
I may be old, but I'm slow.
Because I remember telling Cassie to record. Okay. All right, let's go on. I don't know that I see anyone from the public, at least on my screen. Anybody see any of the public still with us?
There are a few. Let me watch to see if anyone's raising their hand.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You just want to say we're looking for public comment?
We're looking for public comment.
There's just one individual right now, and I don't see
Okay,
them raising their hand.
all right, I'll close public comment then. Let's do council announcements and reports. Let me start with you, Jordan.
We've been meeting with the Disaster Preparedness Committee. We are working on the Great Shakeout coming up here in April. We will be doing a Zoom meeting that people can check in. We are actually pounding the pavement, at least the several members of the committee are, to get some prizes. So it's the Great Shakeout, which I think is the second or third Saturday in April. We'll be doing, people will call in. We'll have a screen that will show, sign up, put your name and contact info, and we're going to do a raffle for some pretty cool prizes that we've been putting together for people that sign in, and we'll just kind of do a random number generator for the number of comments we have in there, and we'll see who wins some of those prizes, just to get people participating, because Zoom has kind of opened up a new opportunity for disasters, as we've learned. In the old days, we were having everyone check in via walkie-talkies and ham radios, and Zoom lets us all get together and review the disaster in real time and go over things. So I want to kind of put that as part of our communication plan and as a city. And so we're just playing with that and getting that tested out, see how it works.
Thank you, Jordan. Lisa?
Yes. Okay. So we've had a few CTC meetings over the last couple of weeks, different boards. We had discussion regarding funding for illumination, as well as wanting to find families who can benefit from the Everyday Strong program, which is about an 11, 12-week program where every week they show up and learn some skills for developing skills in relationships and with their children and parenting and just general well-being and stress management, all those things, similar to what we discussed with our resolution. Also, we're working with the Youth Commission, with the CTC Youth involvement on doing kind of a TED Talks experience for them where we can do this online, where they can find a topic. We'll have the board kind of decide what goes and what is restricted, but give them an opportunity to be heard and be on social media and speaking forum, and maybe even connect that with a public speaking class. We're kind of restructuring our youth commission in regards to, because of the smaller amount of kids we have and the stipulations we've had this past year, we'd like to start combining some of the experiences for the group that we have. And so we'll be talking to leadership over the next couple of weeks about that. West Davis Chamber is looking at resuming meetings, their public meetings. We've been having board meetings, but resuming public meetings by May, and they'd like to invite all of the surrounding cities, mayors and councils to meet and maybe work on ways that they can help small businesses and just businesses within the city that have struggled. And then I have a statement I would like to read, and I'd like this put on the record. For 2 years, I have read, listened, and been apprised of accusations and slanderous statements about me, our staff, and other elected officials that have circulated on social media. Although some are created by citizens of this city, those I speak of today are instigated and perpetuated by one council member, Mr. Mon. There are several troubling aspects about these accusations, and one most concerning is that they are presented and discussed in the court of public opinion and public comment, wherein the elected officials who have been accused have no ability to counter or defend themselves because of our Open and Public Meetings Act, which only allows 2 members of council to interact. This means only one elected official is allowed to defend publicly or privately regarding the accusations and slander, which means the rest must remain silent. In the past, I have tried to clarify my own position on social media and had my response removed by Mr. Mon, stating that I was not allowed to engage because another council member had already weighed in. This makes it very clear that Mr. Mon knows the rules and uses them to his advantage in speaking from a social media platform. Mr. Mon has never approached me personally or privately about an issue on which we don't agree. in order to discuss, understand, or clarify positions. Most often, I don't even realize we have opposing views until I am falsely accused before an audience of thousands. And my name, integrity, and reputation are intentionally slandered. Many times I have chosen not to speak up in my own defense or that of the hardworking, ethical staff and elected leaders who are also maligned, because I am acutely aware that our actions and words reflect on this city and all those who work so hard to create this exceptional space to live, work, and raise our families. I will on occasion roll my eyes in a public meeting when I am falsely accused of corruption. For that, I won't apologize, but for the most part, I prefer not to stir the pot and stay silent, believing that eventually the fur will die down. After 2 years of this treatment, and the most recent episode of being publicly accused of breaking the law and intentionally keeping secrets from our constituents, I have chosen to speak publicly in opposition to Mr. Mon's tactics. Mr. Mon, I will not be silent as lies are told. We all have a responsibility to work with the people who have been elected and appointed, even if we disagree, without resorting to lies, slander, and accusations, refusing to cooperate or allow differing opinions without resorting to one-sided character assassination and slander on social media is self-serving at best and illegal at worst. It diminishes our efforts and intention as well as the unity of our citizens. I hope you will consider this as a call to use professionalism, integrity, and maturity as you go forward in your position as a representative of our city, as well as the people you serve with. Thank you.
Seth?
Oh, tough order to follow. For me, I just have one update. Is just that I've connected with Syracuse High School, and I'll be attending their final community council on April 9th, and I'll bring back anything to this body that comes from that. And the planning commission report, I apologize, I was having technical difficulties. I was just waiting on a copy of the video feed from the last planning commission. It was very short, and I believe everything was mostly administrative, but if there's anything that needs to come or would benefit this body, I'll send out those notes as soon as I get that information.
Okay. Anything else? Corinne?
Yes, sir. First of all, just want to thank you, Mayor, for setting up that meeting with US Cold Storage. And sorry I couldn't be there. My nephew's wedding was great, but I wanted to be there too, so very much. CTC was very excited that they sound like they're going to be a partner with them.
Can I make just one comment? They were also very interested in establishing a relationship with Job Corps. And you connect us with that. Could you maybe work with that too?
Yes, sir.
He would like to be involved with Job Corps.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Darcy will be very thrilled.
Yep.
Okay, next, mosquito abatement is this Thursday, so I will be getting you a report on that. Should only be doing tree holes right now. So if you know of any trees in your neighborhood that don't have a little squirt of blue paint on them, please call Davis Mosquito Abatement, and they will put pellets in there to prevent it from breeding thousands of mosquitoes. And it might be in your front yard and you're complaining about all the mosquitoes. Okay, and lastly, I just wanted to take a page from Mayor's book and tell you a quick little story, and I'll try to be brief. Okay, when I was working at Brigham City Hospital, I was the day surgery nurse coordinator, and we had a doctor who one day decided he wanted to start surgery at 6:30 a.m. instead of 7. And so we were told, okay, you got to make this happen. Between myself and the surgical clerk, I had to call every single patient, the entire OR staff, anesthesiologist, so forth. It ended up taking 5 man-hours of our own. Plus, then I had to adjust my own daycare for my son. And I'm sure that other people were having to make adjustments that all took time. Well, the next day came and the doctor didn't even show up till 6:45. You can imagine we were pretty upset. So the point of that little story is just to say, think about what you're doing and how it affects other people. It may seem like no big deal to you, but it can be a really big deal to other people, and mostly in stealing their time and what they have to take care of in a day. So that's my little piece of advice for Mr. Mon. Please consider when you post something, what it does. Thank you.
David?
In the Arts Council, we actually had a resignation, so we will have a position that we'll be advertising for. And on the sewer board, we continue to deal with some of the finalization of our alternate plan, dealing with the state and all the various agencies that have to be dealt with. And that's it.
Okay. Council, the only thing I have to mention is just to make sure that on your calendars, the 23rd of April has been set aside for our budget retreat. Staff has agreed to have that packet out a couple of weeks early so that we can study it. And if you would go individually to either the department heads or to Steve with questions that you have on that packet so that we're all fully prepared for the 23rd, and those things that are a concern to you, but maybe not be a concern to others, can be taken care of. And then those things that you bring to attention that probably all of us need to have, we have time to prepare for that one. The other thing that I would mention is that I did go over with the CTC people over to meet with Ryan Haywood at US Cold Storage. And this ought to interest you, Dave. I got to stand next to Aida and have my picture taken. Their human resource individual is the lead for Aida at Hale Theater. And she has a beautiful voice. I tried to get her to sing the Davis fight song with me because she went to Davis High, but she wouldn't. That's all I've got. Brody, do you have things for the council?
Sure, just a quick update. I sent the manager's report out earlier this afternoon, but I'll just highlight a few of the items. You'll see on a future agenda a couple of things. One, we've been in discussions with DWR. As you know, we have a partnership with them in the management of Jensen Pond. They've got some money available to do some stabilization to the bank, the shoreline of the pond. At least part of it. And once we've had a chance to kind of work out some of the details with what they're trying to do there, we'll bring that to a council meeting to review with you. Also, the pickleball courts at Founders Park, since it's likely there will be a delay in those getting built at the regional park with the bond that failed last November. We figured it'd probably be a good idea to see if we could get lights at these pickleball courts. Most people like to play into the evenings, especially in the summer. So we'll be bringing that to you as well to look at and authorize. And then finally, the fire department's working out a partnership with Weber State University, where their EMT students will do some clinical rotations alongside some of our folks down at the fire station. That's a good partnership to work out with Weber State. It not only does it help their students and help get EMTs out into the community, but is a foundational relationship that we can have with them when we need to get paramedics trained and that sort of thing. So. And there is a benefit to some of the firefighters that we'll be mentoring is, they'll get some credit for some schooling and things like that.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'm going to call a recess and call a meeting to order of our Redevelopment Agency. I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
So moved.
I have motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, Cassie, that seems to be universal. Let's go to item 2, the only agenda item we have, proposed resolution RDA 21-02, authorizing the execution of an agreement for tax increment rebates related to a development of office, retail, and storage facility project. And is this you, Noah? Who's leading this one?
Yeah, that'll be me.
Okay,
So I think this is our third or fourth time talking about this one. There hasn't been any changes since last time when they got the additional bids. The agreement's ready to go. It'll result in some added circulation and some added infrastructure investment in the area to hopefully spur and expedite development. Any questions?
any questions on this, council? We've discussed this quite a bit in past meetings. Can we move on it?
I think so. I think
Okay.
one of the biggest complaints we get from citizens as we look at developments and different businesses around the community is that we're not putting enough infrastructure into traffic. Sometimes I disagree. In this case, I was totally in agreement because this is a tough area to deal with, and this does help to alleviate some of those issues. So this seems like a win-win.
Okay. See a lot of head, I see a lot of head nods. Could you make a motion, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm on it. I'd like to propose that we move on resolution RDA 21-02, authorizing the execution of an agreement for tax increment rebates related to the development of office, retail, and hopefully very little storage facility project.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Corinne. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, would you record that as unanimous? Motion to adjourn. And return back to, and return back to our regular meeting.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Second by Corinne. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now we are now reconvened in our business meeting. Cassie, have you sent us a new link?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
It's in your email.
it's your email. Council, we will stand in recess and reconvene in a closed session using the link provided by Cassie. And those of you that have joined us this evening, thank you for your participation.
Mayor, we just need a motion to go to closed session.
I need a motion to go to closed session.
Do we need to outline the rules behind going into closed session? Usually we talk about why we do this.
Yeah, we can.
If you can just read the statement on the agenda, that will cover the
Okay.
topics.
We're going to reconvene in consideration of adjourning. We're going to adjourn into a closed executive session pursuant to the provisions of section 52(4)(205) of the Open and Public Meetings Law for the purpose of discussing the character, professional competence, or physical or mental health of an individual pending or reasonably imminent litigation for the purchase, exchange, and lease of real property. So we'll be discussing one of those topics as we leave. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Actually, we're not motioning to adjourn. I think we need a motion to move into closed session.
Okay, motion.
Is
Motion
that
to do
correct,
what?
Cassie?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Motion to move into closed session.
So moved.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what do you say, Brody? Brody had
I just-
something.
Just real quick, because I forgot to let everybody know. So Noah and Steve and Cresta. I think everybody else can go. Well, those are the people that'll need to be in closed session. Obviously, Cassie and Paul will be there too. Thanks.
Okay, the motion is approved that Jordan made.
Second. All in favor, say.
I'm in favor of it.
We'll get there.
Okay.
Oh, the mayor's gone from the meeting. So there was a unanimous vote to adjourn or to convene in closed session. Oh
Yes,
my
there
gosh.
was.
We got it.
Okay. Thanks.
See ya.